Hello and welcome into the Devil Source Postgame Show. I'm Sammy Miller alongside Chris Cartman. Following ASU's 74-62 loss against number 5 UCLA, dropping their overall record to 15-4 and their Pac-12 record to 6-2. And Chris, this was a battle for the number 1 spot in the Pac-12, and Desert Financial Arena was packed. There was 13,363 fans in attendance tonight, and that student section had record numbers as well. And throughout the game was a back and forth battle, but in those last 5 to 6 minutes, UCLA went on a 16-2 run. What do you think the biggest factors to that were?
Well, look, the Bruins have the ability to lock up teams defensively. They've shown it throughout the year. And they gave something to ASU that ASU has typically done to opponents throughout the season, which is buckle down when it matters. In those last 5-6 minutes, I thought ASU's shot selection got poor. They had some really good offense earlier in the game. They were making shots, but when it really mattered, even Bobby Hurley admitted they weren't making that extra pass. And so you ended up with some really contested shots. And then Jaime Jaquez, he's done it a lot of times in the past, scoring from the mid-post. His ability to get those turnarounds. When you bring a help defender, then he's able to kick it out. Of course, we saw that UCLA has really a knockdown three-point shooting capability when you leave them open. And they just have that extra sort of experience and moxie at being able to understand how to handle these types of games at the end in competitive, difficult environments. That's what Mick Cronin has done such a good job of with the Bruins. And so they were prepared to handle it, and they showed that they were able to, succeed in a way that is more sort of normal for the Bruins compared to what we have seen ASU be able to do in recent years in those key late stage periods against the highest quality opponents.
And now the Bruins, they're known for defending the three ball very well, but ASU still shot around 40% from beyond the arc. What do you think enabled that, but at the same time, they still weren't able to get it done in the end?
Look, so DJ Horn hasn't had the normal shot making this year. There's been an adjustment getting used to playing with Desmond Cambridge, Frankie Collins, but he had a great first half, probably the best that he's had against a quality opponent, 14 points. Desmond Cambridge is capable of filling it out from the perimeter, right? What I thought was early on, they weren't overly reliant on the three. They were getting the ball inside to Warren Washington and Devin Cambridge, Frankie Collins, and Austin Nunez were doing a good job off the bounce, getting into the painted area. And that probably set them on a pretty good trajectory to where they were then able to make some shots subsequently. And look, they're probably a better shooting team than they've demonstrated throughout the season already. And so a game like this, even against a high caliber opponent, they were able to put the ball in the basket. That's a very positive thing, but when you shoot 40% against UCLA from 3 at home, you probably should win. And they weren't able to get as many baskets. I think on the interior, you had a very sort of tougher than even normal UCLA post area defense. That was a factor in that. And then ASU didn't get the types of offense created from its defense to get those fast break points that really are important against a team like the Bruins.
And for the Sun Devils, a lot of those close games that they did win, it was because of their defense. But tonight, that wasn't the case. They were unable to really lock down and defend the Bruins in the end. What do you think contributed to that?
Again, when you have Tiger Campbell, he's been doing it for a really long time. Jaime Jaquez, same thing, right? They stress you in a lot of different ways because they have that spacing ability to shoot the ball from 3 when you leave the wrong guy, or they can score via the mid-range pull-up game, which was really great with Tiger Campbell, super composed, and then Jaime Jaquez's mid-range kind of opportunities. They've really thrived this year with getting second chance baskets. They had one that was a third chance opportunity against the Sun Devils. They didn't get as many of those as I kind of anticipated they would for the game being decided by double digits. It just goes to show, though, that UCLA is so good in so many different areas that you have to be able to address. And if you can't button up all of them, they're still going to come away with the victory. And that's why they are a top 5 caliber team in the country.
Now, of course, the Sun Devils would have loved to get a win against UCLA, but there's still a lot of positive to take away that we mentioned before. But what are some that we haven't mentioned thus far?
Well, look, so even on a night when Duke Brennan gets into early foul trouble, ASU goes to Enoch Boache for the first time in any sort of significant action, and he had good minutes, had a putback, he had some good defensive reps. I thought that was a very big takeaway. Hurley credited him afterwards for continuing to work and stay with the team and engage and all that. Probably the biggest by far was Austin Nunez. He had a lot of moments earlier in the season where you felt like he's still kind of wet behind the ears and learning. But in this game, he provided great defense, I thought, on the ball. His timeliness offensively and decision-making were excellent, kind of sifting his way to the basket, being able to score around the rim a couple times, crafty, hit shots from the perimeter. This was the first game where I thought against a high-caliber opponent that it looked like he's the future for ASU as a point guard. I think he's fearless also, which is really kind of an important characteristic at that position. So those two things, big. Mentioned the three-point shooting earlier, which it seems like that's been a trajectory of late for them to be able to shoot the ball better, which that creates less of a reliance on some other things that are more difficult to do offensively. And look, even though ASU didn't do well in the last 6 minutes, they played very large stretches of this game at a high level defensively. It was literally an 8-0 run by UCLA. Start the half, that was bad, and then a 16-2 run in the last 5.5 or so minutes, that was bad. And other than that, ASU played 33 minutes that were really good defensively in this game. It just is UCLA has a knack for being able to get those key runs that turn into be the difference, and they did that again tonight.
And like you mentioned, Chris, it was such a close game, and those are sometimes very hard to get over, but the Sun Devils have a quick turnaround. They're facing USC on Saturday, and for these Sun Devils, you never want to lose 2 at home, so they have a treat for them against a very talented team that continues to go to the tournament year after year, so they will definitely have to work on that and try to win that game. But that's all we have on this edition of the Sun Devil Source Postgame Show. I'm Sammy Miller. That's Chris Cartman. Make sure to follow along to sundevilsource.com.